If you're struggling with logic games while also trying to figure out where you want to go to law school, this one's for you. I got this question from Jordan, a college senior focusing on logic games while also weighing her different law school options, who writes, I'm aiming for a 165 plus in June. Logic games are challenging, and I'm also weighing the importance of school culture in my decision. Additionally, I'm concerned about the optimal timing for submitting my law school applications. How can I improve in logic games and strategize my application process? I'll get to the logic games question in a moment, Jordan, but first I want to address the question regarding school culture. The thing is that law schools almost universally are going to be pretty competitive. Law school is a grind. You're going to have a lot of gunners around you. Doesn't matter if you're at a T14 or a T50, even the so-called lower ranked law schools are still quite competitive for a variety of reasons. One of them is simply that law school tends to attract type A personalities, and law school classes are graded on a curve, meaning that you are essentially competing against your peers. Additionally, many law schools give out conditional scholarships, which are tied to where you perform relative to others in your class. Of course, you can make friends, you can have study groups, but school culture is law school culture versus, say, master's degree school culture versus undergrad culture. If you are choosing to go to law school, you are by definition going to be around people of a certain mindset, and that mindset is, of course, rather competitive. That's not to say you can't find nice people who are not type A personalities within your law school, but it's going to proportionately be people of a certain mindset. Now, of course, you can choose certain electives, you can join certain clinics and extracurriculars and journals at a certain point after 1L, in which you'll have more flexibility and freedom regarding who you tend to associate with. But by choosing to go to law school at all, you are definitionally going to be around a certain kind of person. I'm not making blanket universal generalizations here. There are exceptions, but the culture of the school tends to have a certain variety to it that is, say, a little bit competitive. Now, obviously, the culture at, say, Yale or Harvard is going to be different than the culture at a significantly lower ranked law school. So you may want to choose where to go to law school based on the prestige of the school or based on where you can get significant scholarship money. If you're choosing prestige, of course, you kind of know what you're getting into at a school like Yale, for example. But if you are choosing a significantly lower ranked law school, you may find it's not quite as competitive, and you also will, of course, not be taking on the same degree of debt. You may need to maintain a certain GPA or a certain percentile in the class in order to maintain a conditional scholarship, if that is what you are granted. But of course, I always recommend avoiding conditional scholarships because they are by definition, of course, not guaranteed. Now, you mentioned logic games are challenging. Now, one of the best ways to maximize your odds of getting an unconditional scholarship is by getting the highest LSAT score possible, and logic games are often key to achieving the highest LSAT score possible. If we look at those who score 170 plus, they're typically getting perfect on logic games, maybe -1, and they're losing their points on each of the other sections. Now, as I record this video, you still have several months between now and June to help yourself get the highest games score possible. You can perfect logic games by June if you focus on them. There are nearly 400 released LSAT logic games, and so of course, I would recommend doing as many of them as possible, possibly even all. But if you drill them by type at first, you will begin to see the patterns and they will become a lot easier to solve. You'll get better at making more inferences up front, maximizing your reuse of previous hypothetical scenarios. Now, if logic games just are not your bag and you find as June's approaching, you're not able to perfect them or get as high on them as you want, you can, of course, postpone the LSAT, withdraw from June, and take the LSAT in August instead. After the June LSAT, they are removing logic games from the exam and replacing them with a second scored logical reasoning section. And even by taking the LSAT in August, you can still apply at the beginning of the cycle in the fall. Now, you asked about how to strategize your application process. Whether you take the LSAT in June or August, timeline-wise, you can still apply at the beginning of the cycle either way. Now, whether you take the LSAT in June or August, you will have the entire summer to work on your applications, and you've got plenty of time to perfect your personal statement, any optional essays, addenda, your resume, request your letters of rec, get those in as well, even interview with law schools if you choose to. There are a lot of things you can do to maximize your application, but for now, since you are still studying for the LSAT, I'd say focus on the logic games, see if you can nail them by June, aim to get the highest LSAT score possible, and then once you have gotten that score secured, you can then switch gears, focus on your application essays, and also think about where you want to go to law school, maybe tour some different schools or meet with members of the admissions office to see if the school's vibe clicks with you. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to see it. And if you're also struggling with logic games, aiming to perfect them by June, there are a variety of ways I can support you. At LSAT Unplugged, we have live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.